Hi, it's Mr. Walker here, and today I'm going to walk you through the Arduino lab, how to turn on and off multiple LEDs. And I'm going to do this by using the Blockly at Arduino kind of interface. Okay, so first thing you need to do is open up this tutorial. I already have it open right here. And you might notice that they're using Arduino Nano. Don't worry about it. Arduino Uno works just the same. You notice that the pins right here, D2, D3, 4, 5, and 6, those match up with our Arduino Uno. I already made it here. And they just plug into pins 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Instead of using a 220 ohm resistor, I'll be using a 330. If I click on this right here, it shows up, yeah, 330. Just pretty much the higher resistance you have, the LED just won't be as bright. Okay, and then we have our LEDs. So it goes from the pin to the resistor, connecting to the anode, the long end of the LED, and that the other end connects to the ground. So you notice there's a ground on this side on the Arduino Uno. There's also 2 ground pins on the other side. Doesn't matter which you have, they're all the same thing. They're all ground. Okay, so if I'm taking a look at this tutorial here, the first thing that they want me to do is to set it up so that all the lights, all 5 of them, turn on, and then all of them turn off. So you might be, recognize this code a little bit. We've been going over this past week. We have the setup function. So this just tells the Arduino which pins will be input, which ones will be output, and lights, their output. So we just pin mode, we say what pin it is, and then that it's an output. And then our loop section, this loops forever. And digital write tells the pin to do something, either to turn on or off, be high or low. So what we're doing here, we're doing all these 5 pins to be high. That means the LED is set on. And then we're turn them off by telling them to be low. And you notice that there's a delay of 250 milliseconds, so a quarter of a second right in between. And actually there should be another delay here at the end as well. Otherwise it'll turn on, delay a bit, off, and then it repeats and be on right away. So it goes off, on, and you wouldn't even tell the difference, to be honest. So I think this code here should have another delay. Okay, so instead of, in the past tutorials that we've done, we just kind of copy and paste the code in. So what I want us to do is use this Blockly Arduino. And the cool thing about this guy is that we can use block coding, one of these blocks, and it also spits out what the text coding is. Okay, so I know it's a little confusing at first, but let's get started. So first things first, we'll just be using, we start out with Arduino. So we click on Arduino, and we notice that this says set up and Arduino loop forever. This is great because if we click on the sunglasses right here, this matches exactly what the base code for the Arduino has. There's always a setup function that runs once, and there's always a loop function that runs forever. So the first thing that we want to do, we want to have an LED. And an LED is an output, like we talked about before. So if we go back here in this drop-down menu right here, we have in, out. So that's our input and output. So we're going to click on output, out. And if we look right here, we have one that to do with LEDs. This one's put the pin digital blank to logic state high. Okay, so we're going to use this one right here. And we want this actually to be in the loop forever. And let's start with pin 2. And the cool thing, you'll notice what happened to the setup. They automatically wrote that in for us. So if I were to delete this block, they both delete. So that's the beauty of this block program. It does a lot for us. And then we plop that right in there. we can write any number here, and any number that we write there, it'll just input that there, for the digital write in the pin mode. So if I do 4, it's 4, 2 is 2, and we want to, if we're looking at a tutorial right here, we want to write 2 high, then 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I can do here is highlight it, go Control C to copy, like anything on a computer, and Control V to paste. And I can just keep on pasting 5 of those and just clicking them together. Really clicking them doesn't, it just groups it together. And we want to change these numbers to 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome. So a great thing to do is always to test out your code as you go along. You don't want to go too far without testing your code. Otherwise, if you have too much, you don't know where the error is. Okay, so start with building blocks. So we have this, all 5 lights should turn on. We're going to copy this. I'll go to Tinkercad right here. And since I don't have a camera to show you my Arduino, I'll just post it into here and simulate the circuit. And we notice that all the lights turn on. Beauty. Great, so that works. Now taking back, look back at our code here, we want to have a delay, and then we want to put everything to low. Okay, so let's go back. So delay, if we take a look right here under Arduino, we have input, output, we also have time. So I'm assuming it's going to be under there. Let's take a look. Time, delay, here we go. So we have delay in milliseconds, and we also have delay in seconds. Let's just grab the millisecond, put that there. And always, I want you to have this open right here so that you can exactly see what happens. So when I get the delay, it writes that in for us. And we only want 1/4 of a second, and that changes that. Beauty. And what we want to do now is to turn them all off. So it's the same thing. We just want to turn it on and off. So it's going to be a digital pin. It's going to be an output. Put digital pin right here. And lock that in place. And we got 2. Instead of high, we want to go low. And I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of these here. 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And let's copy and paste, see what happens. Whoops, this thing keeps on hiding. Let's go to code. So for you, you'll be using this right here, your Arduino IDE. And make sure you go tools. This is a common problem that people have. When your Arduino is plugged in, you have to go port, and you have to choose one of the COM ports that have Arduino in brackets. It'll say COM 3 or 4 or whatever number, and then in brackets it'll say Arduino. So that's the one you need to choose. I don't have an Arduino on me, so I can't demonstrate that. That's why I'm using this Tinkercad. But that's what you'd want to do. And then you'd want to highlight the whole thing here, paste it. Okay, you only want one setup function and one loop function. And then you can upload it. Okay, so for me right here, I'm just going to start my simulation. And you know what? I don't think I copied the code properly. Let's go back. There we go. Now let's try it out. So it's high, delay, low, and then we notice that it's not blinking. So that's like I said before, it goes high, there's a pause, low, and then repeats and goes high right away. So what we need to do is to add an extra delay. Let's copy and paste that right there. And now we should get blinking. There we go. So it blinks every 1/4 second. 250 milliseconds. So let's copy and paste that guy right there. Okay, so this is your kind of the first step in the tutorial. Okay, so next thing that you want to do is to make the lights turn on one at a time. Okay, and on the right here is kind of an example code of what that should look like. Okay, so you want to have one on, so make it high, and then make it low and make the next one high, and so on and so on and so on. And once you're done that, there's a couple other sequences that you need to do. So let's just focus on this one, and then we'll take a look at the rest. Okay, so we have these two, on, off, and what we're going to do, it'd be nice if we could copy and paste a bunch of these, but it doesn't look like we can, so just one at a time. Just going to paste a bunch. Here we go. And the first one will be high, and have to renumber them. We're going to put a bit of a delay. Then the second one will be high. This one's low. 3 is high. 4, 5, and 6 are all low. And again, low just means off. And one more time, do another delay. So you see here, it's a little tedious. The tutorial that we did last time, they used a different method that was a lot quicker, but it's a little bit more advanced. So I think this here will kind of hammer home the basic ideas of how this works. 5, 6. Forgot the delay. And here we have 4 high. We want 5 to be high. We're just kind of working our way down. Get our delay in there. Whoops. So you notice that if you grab up high, it connects with all of them below. In order to get that one out, I have to grab underneath, and then I can separate it. I'm trying to go too quickly. All right, so this should be 6. Should be high, and then we're good to go. Here we go. So it's quite the string of code, but it's not too complicated, right? We're just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again. Let's make sure there is that delay at the very end. Now let's test out our code here. Let's go Control A or select everything and then Control V just to paste over it. And let's go simulate. So it should turn on, turn off, and then do this thing, turn on, off, and then kind of do one at a time. There we go. That's awesome. Okay, so in our tutorial, one second. Oh yeah, right here it says from left to right. I did right to left. It's okay, it's just the way I wired it. No biggie. So make sure you show me that. And then what you need to do. So we've done all on at the same time. We've done all off. We've done sequence. We did right to left and back. Okay, so I only did half that. And then we want sequence outside to inside. So it'll be the outside 2 lights. Be this guy and this guy. And then they kind of work their way in, both on, and then they work their way back out. Sequence inside to outside. So inside starts here and then works their way out. Okay, so the idea here for the second bit, rather than having our loop, having all this stuff here, all of this here, what we're going to do, we're going to create a separate function. And then what we're going to do is call up that function. Okay, so if you take a look at the code on the right here, we have, it says all on, set delay, all off, delay, set delay, all off, delay, set delay. This set delay, that's just a variable. It's an integer. just a number, and it's he set at 250. So the beauty of doing this is that if you change this number, it changes the delay for the whole code, right? Anyway, so this all on right here with the two brackets, if this is a function. So this all on, that's not like the Arduino doesn't know what that means. You have to tell it what it means. The loop, Arduino knows what a loop is with that word there, but when it says all underscore on, it does not know what that is. So what we do, we'll create a function, and it says void all on, and then we have these curly brackets, these braces, and then we say, well, what does all on do? This. So when all on shows up, the program jumps all the way down here, then executes this, goes back here, does the delay, all off, jumps all the way down there, does this, and then jumps back to the delay. Okay, so how does that work with Blockly Arduino? Well, we notice that there's a section here for functions. Okay, and I'm a little zoomed out, so let's get right in there. So we want it to do something. You notice how it says void. Okay, so void just means that this function here does not return anything. Okay, some functions, instead of void, you can say int. So that means that once it runs this, it'll return a number that will be used later on in the program. Okay, so it's a little bit more advanced, but all we need to know is that we're not trying to return anything. We're just kind of running this program that's just a sequence of things that are being turned on or off, and that's all we need. So there's two options here. We want this guy right here, right? Because this here says return. We don't want to return anything. We're just going to grab that and throw it wherever. It doesn't really matter. And so don't want to click on that. So to do something, let's say lights on. Okay, so we should see in this code here, if I go all the way, there we go. So lights on, and it says void because it's not returning anything automatically. And what we want to do, I'm just going to grab this guy, just separate stuff right here. I'll grab this guy, throw that in there. So now we have a lights on function. Sweet. And now let's go to functions again. Let's grab another one. Let's call it lights out. And I won't use capital L. Lights out. You notice how I use a space here? They use underscore encoding. Spaces usually aren't used. There we go. Get rid of this delay. And then let's make another one. That says, let's go, well, mine did right to left, right? So I'll go right to left. And I'll throw all those guys in there. And delete. And so you notice you have all of these functions here, and I guess I can just grab now. Yeah, so there's all these different functions. We have our setup function and our loop. You notice that the Arduino program will actually not run any of this unless it gets called up down here. Remember, it just does the setup function and then the loop. And if the loop doesn't say anything about anything else, it ignores all of that. So what we want to do right here, we want to call up our functions. So we notice now we have these new buttons here to play with. We can do lights on, put in a delay function, lights out, copy and paste in a delay, Control C, Control V, and it should just repeat that. So let's copy all our code here. For you, you'll go here, Control A, Control V. For me, I'll go here, Control A, Control V. Simulate, it should just be blinking. Yeah, so it just blinks it ignores this whole right to left section. Okay, so you notice that functions, one of the main functions of the functions is to really organize the code too. Okay, so it really makes it a lot more readable. Before we had this huge list of things, and here it just makes it's smarter programming. We're able to reuse these chunks of code rather than just copy and paste these big chunks. We can just call up the function and it does that for us. Okay, so what I want you to do is to create a function for going outside, inside, inside, outside, and then to play around with the different ones. The one last thing I'll show you is how to create a variable in Blockly Arduino. And you notice how they have a variable for the delay. So I'll do the same thing. And we notice on the left we have variables. Okay, so click on variable, create variable. Let's go with delay time. And let me just see if this works. Delay time, good. Okay, so I have this right here, and I can take my variable and just plop it in there. But you notice, let's take a look at our code. If I go to the very, very top, or where did it show up? Delay time, delay time, delay time. I do not see it. So it shows up right there, but we need to say what the delay time is. Otherwise we'll get an error in our code. So I will go back to variables. And what we can do is set the delay time. Okay, so I'll go set delay time, and I could set this in the setup area. So right here. And right by default it's set to 0. So I want to add a number to that, to right there. And in order to that, I need to go to the math section. Okay. So variables, to grab the variables. Oh, we see that we could grab it there. But in the math section, you have this little block, which is just a plain old number, integer. And let's go with 250. And if I want to, it would be smart for me to copy and paste. If I wanted different, maybe I wanted for this sequence down here, if I wanted the same delay time as up here, I could just use that same variable, or I could use a different variable if I wanted to be able to, to change things up. So I could do that as well. Let's just test out our code, make sure that this works. Yep, so it works. We notice right here, I could change this to a larger number. And then that will affect the delay time there, computing. Okay, so what I want you to do, create those different functions, put them in Blockly Arduino, then show me how they work. All right. Hope you learned a lot, and hope you're becoming a little bit more familiar with Blockly Arduino. Thank you.